Osifowora, it's good to see you again.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
Welcome to the breakfast show on TVC. Right, so earlier on, the president's predecessor, Muhammadu Buhari, also, said something in that light, talking about treat kidnappers as terrorists. And many states, we've seen many states also upgrading their laws on anti-kidnapping, so to speak, no more life sentence. In many states now, it's now, if you get, a guilty verdict, it's now a death sentence. But with the president's statements now, what do you think?
Well, if you look at the spate of kidnappings and how much is gone on the increase, and it's literally become an industry which has made most states and even the federal government look somewhat incompetent in protecting the lives and properties of the citizens, which is the primary purpose for which they're there. Now, so if you look at that, in that context, it is necessary for the government to declare a state of emergency in that regard and come up with something stiffer, because you find that this was something we never knew in this country. All of a sudden, at some point, it just started and then it became a big thing. And you now have it at all levels, both at the local, at the state level. And, it's become a big thing. It's become a monster. And it has to be dealt with seriously. So the way we used to handle it should differ from how we will go about it now. If something has become an industry, then you have to tackle it headlong. And I think that's a welcome development from the president. Though if you look at most states, most states are changing the laws because almost every day, at some point, I could say for free, in my office, we had to sit down and look at it that, there are some states we can't do some interstate briefs again. So we had to look for people there to help us with the briefs, because traveling outside your enclave became almost difficult and impossible. And you wake up scared, you read the news. Kidnapping is literally in your face.
Front burner headlines.
Everywhere. So, and I think the government has seen this, and what the president has said is the right thing. Though some people are already, gearing towards going beyond even life sentences for ordinary kidnapping to, because, by laws, if I can explain that, what happens is most laws states that when you are found guilty of kidnapping, you get between 15 to 30 years, life imprisonment. That's the highest you have. But over time, they realize that this thing has become something very lucrative for some people, and then the harm and the danger is causing to the states and the citizens. Some states started coming up with the death sentence thing, and that will be some form of abhorrent to most people engage in the trade. So for the president to really come out and say that, treat these people as terrorists. You know who terrorists are. We know how the law operates with terrorists. So it's best you just put it in the same, bracket. And then maybe that will deter the people in it. That will curb a lot of things. A lot of people engage in the whole kidnapping thing.
Okay, so we see that when there's a insecurity issue in any part of the country, the governor runs to the president. We've seen that over time, even recently. Now, do we put together a legislation whereby states as well can help handle security issues in their state, in issues of kidnappings and all of that, banditry, in their own state, rather than go to the federal government, because it seems like the government is quite overwhelmed with handling these issues?
Well, there is supposed to be some tweak to our legislation, but if you look at it, over time, I think recently there's this clamor, and it's almost becoming a reality, something you can touch, where they're talking about state policing. Policing has always been under the exclusive list for the federal government, and so in as much as the governor is the chief security officer of the state, the fact that the state has a police commissioner doesn't mean that they defer 100% to the governor. They still take, instructions from a higher point than the chief security officer of the state. So that's why you find when things almost get out of hand in most states, the best place to go is to go to the federal government and seek help. It's not only peculiar to Nigeria. There are instances even in the U.S. when some security issues get out of hand, you know, you call on the federal troop to come and step in. You know, it's a normal thing. It's one of the characteristics of a federation, which is fine. But, you know, with state policing, I think there will be less of, you know, running helter-skelter. The state governor can actually put together a team and say, this is what we want to do, and then come up with definite security positions.
But with what we have now for the federal police, do you think the state police will have jurisdiction over some matters?
Definitely, you know, there will be legislations. If you don't, where there are no laws, there are no sins, and then there will be clashes. Even if you look abroad, some of the movies you see, you know, you see where
FBI
will
takes
clash
over,
with CIA, and something, it's a federal thing, and you know, like that. There will be teething problems when the state police issue starts. But over time, I think the laws will clear it, and things will get better. It's the idea that we should look, the general idea is what we should really look at and vote for. Is the fact that the federal police is stretched. And then there's a need, because with the spate of crime, every day you wake up to news of heinous activities, and you know, you just wonder, when is this thing going to stop? And if you look at the United Nations position on policing, there's a police to a certain number of persons. We don't even fall within that bracket. I think at the last count, the Nigerian police has in its employer about less than 400,000, you know, 400,000 policemen to 200 million. It's a far cry from what it is. So definitely something needs to be done at the state level. And though, like I said, there will be teething problems, the teething problem is not just going to be clashes between the federal police and the state police, no. You know, before now, with all sense of responsibility, security funds have been on the front burner. People always questioning. Now those security funds will be put to judicious use, because you cannot have a police that you will not equip. You're not going to give people sticks or gadgets that won't define what they're doing. So the governors will really have to put their security votes to proper use now, and not that one that everybody keeps questioning.
Right.
This time around, you will have to equip your people. And it is the quality of police that you have that will determine the quality of security that you will have in your state.
How will you qualify the level of deterrence that, you know, this classification of, you know, putting kidnappers into the same category as terrorists? In what form of deterrence do you think this will bring, you know, to curb the spate of this crime? All
right. Now, basically, if you look at terrorism, it's in almost every part of the world. The punishment for terrorism is death. Now, so if you put kidnappers in the same bracket, that means that the punishment for kidnapping, whether you just feel, you know, there are some local, like I said, kidnapping has taken different dimensions where people, not even the ones who feign it now, in fact, I was in court 2 days ago and some dispatch rider was kidnapped. I was in court in Shagam, and the case was on before my case was called, and they were demanding 2 million. You know, we saw some people that were demanding like 1 trillion. It has taken dimensions. So you have local kidnappers, you have state kidnappers, you have, let's just put it like, those who kidnap at the federal level. You know, some deal with the state, some deal with families, some deal, so and you see one...
Sorry, I'm intrigued. In that case, so the kidnappers or the alleged kidnappers are on trial?
They're on trial,
oh,
5 of them.
Great.
They were caught. Right. So they demanded just, I think, 1.5 million. So you know those ones are local...
Petty.
They are the petty kidnappers. Okay. But you know, the guy was held for days, according to his testimony, because the trial was on, so I was interested, and I'm like, wow, so they do it at this very, they don't...
And still got to pay the ransom.
Well, the police came in and they salvaged the situation, but the guy was there for a couple of days. Right. Now, so basically what it is that all those levels, if you know that, I want to get 1.5 million from this family, let me kidnap their son. by the time you look at it, you know, most people who go for crime don't look at the punishment. They don't look at the downside. You just feel by the time we do A and B, we'll just cash out.
The calculation.
If you miscalculate and it doesn't follow, if your calculation fell through, then you know that it's debt. So if you look at 1.5 million to debt, you will recalibrate and possibly go about your legitimate business, because once you find yourself in the same bracket as terrorists, and let me quickly give this example. A couple of years ago, there was a young man who was involved in electoral malpractice. He went to snap ballots about 10, 15 years ago in my area. So he was caught and arraigned in court the Monday following the thing. So when they announced his name, they just mentioned his name, Adebola something, I can't mention his surname, versus Federal Republic of Nigeria. When he had Federal Republic of Nigeria, he screamed,
it dawned on him.
Federal Republic of Nigeria, what did I do? He didn't know the gravity of so he just realized that I'm facing Nigeria. I'm not, you know, election that happened in Surulere here, me and Nigeria. So that's the way it is. When people realize that this thing is not just come and chop, it is serious thing. If you kidnap for just 1 million, you are caught, or you finish spending your 1 million and you are facing death penalty, that's enough.
All right.
Sorry, but this